So as you guys are aware, Black Myth Wukong's developer Game Science has been under fire by the mainstream gaming industry for a few months now, ever since the whole allegation came out from good old IGN Rebecca Valentine, who decided to mistranslate certain things from the developer purposefully, mind you. She didn't accidentally do it. She 100% purposefully mistranslated the information and tried to paint this picture of sexism and misogyny from Game Science. Well, you know they've been attacked left and right. There's no doubt about it. But Game Science is not backing down because now apparently they are banning content creators from including politics and feminist propaganda.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Game Science is not playing around whatsoever when it comes to Black Myth Wukong, and rightfully so, man. It's amazing how I never in my dreams could imagine a day where games journalists will make you want to side with actual communists, right? Like normally like China would be the one where people are like, oh, they're communists, I'm not siding with them. But gaming journalists are so terrible that people would rather side with the actual communists because they're just trying to make a good game. And again, whether it's funded by actual CCP, that's a whole nother fucking story. I'm not even gonna bother getting into that. Ultimately, when you have to decide between games journalists and communists making a video game, it's so sad that most people will actually pick the communists. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says Black Myth Wukong developer Game Science has reportedly banned content creators who were given a game key from including politics and feminist propaganda amongst other things in their content surrounding the game. That's incredible. And you know what? It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because when you look at the reviews from IGN, when you look at the reviews from Screen Rant, when you look at what the reviews from Tech Radar, none of them can interject feminism or any kind of political speak in those reviews. They actually seemed pretty damn vague, aside from the one from Screen Rant, which talked about the lack of inclusivity and diversity. But aside from that, I really don't think that falls under that anyway. They are banning people from saying certain things related to that, and I can't blame them. Why would you want that to even be involved in the review for your game is beyond me. It has no place in whether or not the game is a good game or what the gameplay is like or the story, whatever. It has literally no place in it. It's just the journalists trying to do what they always do. It says a screenshot of what appears to be some content agreement was shared to X by legal analyst Andrew Esquire, aka Legal Mindset. The agreement informs content creators that they cannot insult other influencers or players and that they are not to use any offensive language or humor. It then notes that they cannot include politics, violence, nudity, feminist propaganda, fetishization, and other content that instigates negative discourse. Furthermore, it also bans trigger words such as quarantine or isolation or the coof and prevents creators from discussing content related to China's game industry policies, news, etc. Now, listen, man, Communist Party, right? They're not like, this is not very shocking, okay? China is extremely vigilant on what they do allow and don't allow with their particular content. So this is not exactly very shocking to come from a Chinese company. I just find it to be extremely, funny that they are banning feminist propaganda from being instituted in any kind of review around Black Myth Wukong, because that's the first thing a lot of these games journalists are going to want to talk about. It was proven in their reviews. When we did a video on Screen Rant, that's the first thing she wanted to talk about. That's almost the only thing she wanted to talk about, because you could tell she kept it all the way to the bottom of the review. She didn't want it to be the top of the review, right? Because for obvious reasons, most people don't get to the bottom of the review. But at the bottom of the review, she wanted to talk about how there was no female NPCs in chapter 1 and 2. So what about every other chapter? It's funny how you left out every other chapter because you wanted to include in your narrative that the game's not diverse enough in the first 2 chapters, but there's multiple chapters in the game. So what about those? Was there female NPCs in those? Or do you not want to just talk about that? It's incredible to me. It's like a one-sided story. Black Myth Wukong and its developers at Game Science have been subject to a smear campaign from numerous media outlets, including IGN, The Guardian, and GameSpot. Now, I've said so many times that I truly believe, man, these diversity consultancy firms are desperately trying to get their hands on Chinese money. They do not have their hands on Chinese money right now, that I know of anyway. They don't have their hands on it, and they're desperately trying to do it, right? They're trying to extort currently Hoyoverse. They're trying to extort companies like Game Science. They want to get their hands on Chinese money because it's a lot of money. It is untapped potential. It is untapped massive profit that they can garner if they can convince these companies to hire them. This is why, if you look at all the smear campaigns that happened recently, they all seem to be targeting Chinese companies. They all seem to be targeting Chinese developers because it's untapped potential. They desperately want it. It says IGN's Rebecca Valentine and Ki Ho Chen initially ran an article accusing the developers of sexism. The duo reported several posts have surfaced from Chinese social media Weibo written by individuals from the studio that contain multiple references to genitalia and sexual innuendos. And again, they purposely mistranslated basically all the innuendos that were in that particular thing. They were translating when they reported on it, and Rebecca Valentine got called out multiple times by people who know actual Chinese and translated it themselves and purposely shown that she was full of shit. They also stated that this was coupled by recruitment posters by the studio produced in 2015, which featured images and headlines that point to a culture of ingrained sexism in game science. Now, listen, this company can be completely against feminism, 100%. They could just not be fans of feminism, and most likely that is true, considering that it's, again, communist China. It's not exactly very shocking information. But here's the thing, right? Even if I don't agree with some of the notions that they're trying to say, at the end of the day, I am not the worldview, right? And this is the problem that a lot of these activists have in the West. And it's particularly here that it's the biggest issue, in my opinion. They have this thing in their mind where they view their worldview as the entire worldview, right? So because they feel a certain way about that one thing, that means that everybody else in the entire fucking planet has to feel the exact same way as they do. And if you do not feel the exact same way as they do, they will lose their minds. They will do everything possible to try to cancel you. They will try to get you to lose your job, your funding, etc., etc. They will do everything to ruin your life because they just can't comprehend that other people out there in this planet live a different way than they do, or see the world in a different light than they do, right? They cannot come to grasp with that. So at the end of the day, it is very clear that these kind of people are not reviewing video games in good faith. That's obvious, right? We pretty much known that from the fucking start. They are not reviewing games in good faith. And I had a meltdown about two of them in particular, not because they're females, but because they decided in their review to say that the game runs terribly, that it's laggy, it's glitchy, and it's buggy. But then they were playing, one of them was playing on a PC that wasn't even up to snuff for the minimum specs because they didn't tell us about the graphics card. They only told us about their processor, right? And the other one decided to review the PC version of the game on a handheld. So why are you reviewing a PC game on a handheld and complaining about graphics and complaining about performance and bugs and glitches and all that stuff when you're playing on literally the worst hardware you could possibly get your hands on? You're not even a PC gamer at that point, my guy. Like, you're trying to use a Switch essentially to try to do a PC game review. So it's ridiculous, it's stupid, but it's modern day gaming journalism, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.